must unite what has been set asunder.
We are TFR.
When you finally boil it all down, magic is imagination. We are moving into an age of manifestation. Things become actually less material, more ethereal. The golden dawn is when we awaken to this new station of life. What you think becomes real quicker. Regain our imagination, regain our inner child, and let that inner child out.
My name is Frank Castle, founding member of the music group Heist Click and New York City Neo Shaman. After a serious injury sidelined my career in 2013, I decided to set out on an adventure to search for myself with the help of the plant medicine Ayahuasca. What I discovered waiting for me was something I could have never prepared for. It was time for me to become something more, someone more. It was time I became fearless. Shine as my heart beats a rhythm with space and time. When the light starts to shine inside your third eye, you awake to the knowledge that you never die. What is up, everyone? My name is Frank Castle, and I'm your Sorcerer Supreme. Each and every Saturday night, right here on Truth Frequency Radio. This is Fearless, and I want to thank you for tuning in. Shout outs to Chris and Cherie Geo. Love you guys so much. Send healing vibes to Cherie. She's doing pretty good now. Love you guys. You built the house. You build it, they will come. And it's waves and waves and waves of creator beings just waiting to explode with purpose. Divine challenge. What's up, Fearless family? How's everybody doing? Send healing vibes to Paula. She's not feeling well at all. We have been battling what I want to call is ascension flu or symptoms, because it's not a flu. But it's literally just taken us out of the game. It's why nobody's really heard from me off air of the show. So send some healing vibes to her. Shout outs to the Fearless family. Making my way back a little bit at a time. Shout outs to Ra. I have Ra. All right, so I just want to continue something. Ra paid me a visit today again, and we were discussing a few things. We were discussing Anubis. So we're trying to make connections, right? And I was just listening to the show. It's fantastic, by the way. Shout outs to his guest and to Ra. So he was explaining to me, and mind you, I grew up Catholic. I'm nothing anymore. I'm just raw consciousness, right? So he asked me if I ever heard of Saint Christopher. Okay, so I'm like, I figured, yeah, Saint Christopher, of course, everybody's heard of Christopher, right? But no, who is Saint Christopher? Now, I'm not going to get into a definition of who he is, but what he's depicted as is a dog-headed man. Okay, so you got a saint who's been kind of barred from history, but yet he's there from being talked about. So we're making the connections. So I was drawing some of my own conclusions, and it was funny. I turned the show on, and there he is discussing it. And he said a possible connection to Canaan, the Canaanites. Because do we really know the true meaning? We weren't there. We didn't win the war and write the history book. Those were ancestors. You don't know the people that are in power and in control. So I start putting a few things together. But as we were discussing, I told Rob, my runnings in with Anubis, and the passage to the underrealm, and how Rob was telling me, he's depicted as sometimes as the Grim Reaper, or a character as such, but he's really nothing like that. And I've talked about this on the show early in the first couple of shows. Clash of the Titans. There's the there's the guy you have to give the coins to go when you go in the underrealm, so you can cross the bridge to the other area, through the realm. Well, that depiction of the guy that puts you on the boat, the skeleton keeper that takes the boat and you across, is Anubis. He's one of the depictions. So I've been around Anubis plenty of times. I've been in situations with him where I'm like, I look at him, and we were discussing heights and how they appear to us. He's like 7 or 8 feet tall, and he doesn't really open his mouth. He just, uses telepathy and everything. And I got really comfortable with Anubis on one of my earlier interactions. I felt really at home around him. I was appreciating him. I was like, oh, thanks. So he's like, yo, I want you to check this out. And the next thing I know, everything, and it was like I phased out of where I was with him. And I show up on a planet where the hue and the tint is blue. So there's a sun that's blue. I could see it shining. But then there's like this, instead of the sun rays and golden blue, water and everything kind of was like one shade of blue covering everything. So it was really weird. And there were these little bald kids running around who I don't think were just kids, but they had black eyes and they had bald heads. They had this little, I don't know what it was. It was like burnt into their forehead like a dot, but it wasn't a dot. It was like a symbol of some kind. Some of the symbols radiated. Now, I got a dark vibe from most of these kids, but it wasn't like dark evil. It was just kind of what it was, right? Nothing's good or evil. It just is what it is, right? Because who am I to make a comment on anything, because I don't know how anything's rolling over here. I'm still confused. Then I'm standing and I'm thinking, like, I was just with Anubis. What's going on? What's with the bald kids? Why are they wearing robes? And I turned around and I had all right, so they say that they look like jackals. They don't look like jackals. They say they maybe they look like a Doberman Pinscher, kind of, but not really. When you're in the presence of one of these beings, they look like werewolves. The crazy way that you think one would have to be depicted if it was real, like if it was really running around and it was like, yo, that's the best looking werewolf creature thing, half man, half that, except it was standing there talking to me. It was grunting and growling, and I was kind of freaking out because it was drooling and I was taken aback by it, but it was completely intelligent. I could hear it speaking to me in my head. So it decided to take me and show me around, and it took me into a triple temple, 3 pyramids. The pyramids there lined up too with their stars. And I noticed that these beings were, all right, they were carnivorous for sure. They were eating those children, but they were all priest class. And like I was just telling Paula, I'm like, some of them were sacrificial. Right away I knew, and they could just pick from them. But at the same time, these children or these little bald-headed beings were they did something energetically to the dog-headed beings. So I had to be with them for quite a while under my Aya experience, and it was quite frightening. But nothing really, all right, yes, they ate, and yes, they did certain things in front of me. I could tell they were doing magic. Not all of it was dark. If you could see, when you see animals in nature and things in nature work, you're like, oh, that's the way it works. It kind of sucks. It sucks for one of them, and then it sucks for the other one. If it's a symbiotic thing that's going on, but yet they're feeding off each other at the same time. It's really, really weird, and they all want to be there. Nobody doesn't want to be there, which was odd. So I was going on about, they're like 7, 8 feet tall, gigantic. Looks like giant werewolf guys. And our DNA, okay, so being the all, and they were saying something about Ra-El, or the L, right? So my spirit name that was given to me was J-Sa Ra-El. And I saw how all of that is connected. So if you claim to be a creator being and a raw consciousness, and you are the all, so it's all of it. So you have the DNA from those lineages. And I was amazed as we're backtracking now, and Anubis comes up, and boom, spotlight on these creatures. So as I'm discussing my physical experience around these beings, and Ra's explaining to me, like, yo, this dude was St. Christopher was like a wolf man. Like the upper part of his body was a dog. And I'm looking at pictures right now. You could just type in St. Christopher Wolfman. You could see it for yourself. So they remove these things out so you can't, you just have no knowledge about it. How long before they remove something before somebody forgets to talk about it? And it just kind of goes away. How long? I mean, this has been a long time. Things have changed quite a while, but how much is hidden history from you? So these technically are our ancestors, our star family, our interdimensional fractal piece of whatever. They knew I was human, though. The being that was walking me around was like, you stay right next to me. Don't leave my side. And I was like, I was frightened the whole time, but I watched. I was like, okay, this is interesting. I'm not even going to ask any questions. I remembered a Star Trek episode where number one was Star Trek The Next Generation. It was Riker. He had to go eat on a Klingon ship. And everyone was like, bro, I don't want to be you because you know what they eat, right? And he was like, nah, I'm cool with it. And they're like, yeah, but they're bigger than you and they fight. And he was like, nah, I'm cool with it. I could fight. Like, I got this. And everyone's like, oh, man, he's not going to be ready for this. And then he gets on the ship and they start taunting him about their rituals. So they were trying to get him to comment on it because that would have been the disrespectful thing necessary for them to kill him, to kill, so they could kill him and say, oh, look what you did. You disrespected us, so they could all attack him. Instead, he doesn't say anything. He takes the food and eats it, right? And he drinks the drink, and then one of them questions him, and he gets up and slaps him because that's the Klingon way. And I was like, well, that's weird, but that's my only, for some weird reason, that's my only reference point. So I'm gonna work with that, except I'm not eating anything. I never eat anything when I leave my, like, if I'm in the spiritual realm or if I fractal out or do something. If there's food and drink involved and I'm aware of it, I don't touch anything because I don't really know. How do you know really what's going on? Are you in the hologram? Are you projecting? Are you in the fractal? Or are you actually being shown this? Are you physically being taken there and put there? But wait, is he in the living room with me? I don't know. Like, you got to take a breath sometimes and go, what can I do to alleviate my own fear? Because that's the only thing I can control. But no matter what happens, I'm going to have to hang with them and get to learn whatever it is I'm here to learn. And it was the direct connection to these beings. Therefore, there's the direct line to Anubis through the beings that are these lowercase g gods at some point just donating their DNA to everything? Is it like in the system? Or was it stolen? Or are they the ones working on it specifically? Which is why you have this headed being with the human body. One of the weirdest things I've seen. One of the weirdest, people say, well, when you meet ETs, they're not going to be anything like us. Oh, for sure, you're right. Right? But then there's a whole bunch that are. They actually, they have jacked out human bodies, best you've ever seen. What you would think Hercules' body is if he was 15 feet tall, like just with a perfect head of an animal. But they're moving around. I was telling Rob, when I met the reptilians, we were describing things to each other and how they were described. And I'm like, that sounds just like this. And we were just the same sizes and the ranges. I was listening to him and I said, man, they came in the wall with me. They came through the window. There were 7 of them on the 3rd floor. They looked like they were riding on something like a platform, and it just came through the window. It just like as if the window wasn't there, and then solidified in the dining room, all around the table, and it was weird. There was a whole bunch of us, and everyone backed up. I said, "Come on." I went through this with Chris. It's like a group thing we're experiencing, and they're not really there. And the girl was like, you're the shaman, do something. And I went over and I said, it's not real. It's not real, because they were just still. They were just standing there, and I touched it. I touched one of them, and I gave it a good poke, and I said, wow, that's real. It looked right down at me and blew it. Ra was describing how he heard one of them, how it was growling and grunting, and he did an impression in front of me. And I said, yo, the one I touched it, I heard in my head, don't ever do that again, or we can touch you after that. Like, you're not allowed, don't touch us, we won't touch you. But he like blew his nose on me. Like when an animal huffs out its nose. He did that right in my face, and I completely freaked out. I backed up. I went and I went to sit down. I sat down, then I stood back up. I sat down. I stood back up. Like, I didn't know what to do. And they were just looking at me. And then I said, okay, you tell me what's going on. And then they just broke it down. They were like, look, we're in charge. We run the whole show. You're the annoying factor. We're watching you. We're looking at you. We're called the Watchers. I'm like, they weren't quite as like that. You know, they were letting me know, look, you guys are like cattle to us. We were here before you. And I debated them. I debated all of them. I said, I stood right up and said, how could you even say that? I'm an original creator being, the original raw consciousness. No matter where you think you were prior to a human being walking around over here, you can be sure as shit I was everything else on this planet before you were even here. Before you were an itch in whatever your daddy's whatever, right? We were already here. The infinite. Not some guys that live a long time, go burrow underground, eat babies, and do sick rituals. We don't do that. We were here before that. So that's where this is where you see the separation. They recognize that. They recognized my DNA as I spoke to them. They were like, oh, he's awake. I was like, I'm a creator being. I don't know what you are. You look like lizard men. Now I know what Conan had to go through. Like, I didn't know what to think about looking at this. And I always thought, like, where does this stuff, the snake men, why is it always snake men? Why in G.I. Joe, when they fought Cobra, was a terrorist organization, right? 5 years into it, it turns into Inner Earth. Cobra gets Inner Earth beings to help them manipulate DNA to make super soldiers. And then they unlock or do something and make this guy Serpentor, or he's an actual snake man. And he comes out with this other guy, Nemesis Enforcer. I remember their names because I was frightened. He has giant bat wings and looks like an evil angel. He had spikes on his arms and he was murdering people and they're throwing snakes. I'm going, when did this happen? Where's the gun battle? This now turned into Conan. Why? Why does it always go back to that? I was discussion with my with my brother, Rob Banks from the Red Cup Review on YouTube. Check him out. Are we aware of the story, or the guys that are telling the stories to us and putting it in the movies and putting it in everything that we know? Do they know? Are they smoking DMT and drinking ayahuasca and seeing this stuff and going, where? Or are they just creating things, thinking they're creating them out of thin air, but we're really tapping into the all, and that information is fresh. It's really happening at the moment, and it's kind of the story. Like Star Wars, did George Lucas really know? Like, where Star Wars take place, right? Is it now? Is it the future? No, it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, right? So it's in our past, but it was the future, right? And they had the Death Star and all that. Well, we have Titan and the moon around Titan that looks like the Death Star. We had Tiamat. Tiamat was exploded and turned into the asteroid belt. This is what I'm getting at. Like, do you know? Or did you hear Chariot of the Gods and decide, well, this sounds great. Let's really look into every single, like the Matrix, right? Did the person who wrote the Matrix sit down and purposely put every single piece of information into that? Or did they just kind of create something awesome and they feel like they created that and then pulled from a couple of things? But each of those things had meanings within the meanings within the meanings. It's almost just perfect, right? It makes you wonder. I think about it all the time. And I say, we are the infinite being that has the knowledge. We were there for all of this. For as many times as I go under, people sometimes taunt me slightly with anytime I talk about Hinduism or the gods from there, lowercase g, and then the Egyptian pantheon. I ask them, how come y'all never talk? Like y'all together, I see you, you're together, but what happened? You guys been throwing lightning bolts at each other, creating DNA monsters, right? Like stuff out of Star Wars, the Cantina, right? And y'all decided to fight it out, and y'all murdered each other. And now that was like before what we're kind of recording, right? And then now we're here, and everyone's got to get along. Or we offsprings of all of you. We have all of your DNA from the Egyptian pantheon to the Hindu pantheon, all the pantheons, like whatever. Do we have all the DNAs? So now everyone's got to get along, or you're all stuck in ascension limbo with us unless we do this together as a team. Like, what is going on, right? Or is it all happening and that's all true? All of it, just everything. Makes you wonder. Someone in my room saw, in the FearLess group, saw Aquaman. By the way, I don't normally promote movies hardcore, but Aquaman's the number one movie, right? It's passing everything. And people are like, dude, it's Drago. It's, he's not that good. He's not that good of an actor. Aquaman's kind of whack. He talks to fish. Do you know why Aquaman's number one? I'll tell you why it's number one. Besides that, it's a fun movie. It's a fun movie. It's good. But it's number one because it's the return of the elemental. The elementals. The water elementals. Everything is water. Right? Aquaman doesn't talk to the fish. He speaks to the water. The water does everything. Right? It's the return of these men and these beings genetically encoded to be enhanced, to be more than what they are, connected from one gene pool to the other gene pool, to connect both gene pools together, while they wield an assortment of different utility weapons that are considered artifacts, literal artifacts. Like, you're looking for, the cup of Christ, and I'm like, well, what about the spear of Poseidon? Right? It's all the same stuff anyway, right? Well, it's the return of that stuff. The king of Atlantis, the return of the Atlantean consciousness. Not just that we ride sharks and eat people. That stuff's cool, but, it's neither here nor there. That's for the fun of the movie. Or that something like Wreck-It Ralph, and we talked about this last week, I think. Wreck-It Ralph 2 is a complete take on Ascension. And I know I spoke to this about my brother too. He said, oh, there's drama with these comments in the movie and these comments. I just couldn't watch it. Me and the kids, we turned it off and couldn't take it. And I said, no. You're looking at it all wrong. I didn't even pay attention to any nonsense in the movie. That I was just having fun watching a movie. And as it went, I realized what was going on. And you watch them go from, we'll say, the 2D world. Or we could say 3D, right? The old video games, Pac-Man, stuff like that, right? They're just flat on the screen playing the game. There's no depth to it. Those guys were masters at their games and just love going to work every day and then coming home and hanging out. Well, one of the games broke, and they don't make the games anymore. So the guy that owns the place opts to get the internet. So the old games weren't allowed to go into the internet, but they wanted to go to eBay to get the steering wheel to try to help the owner of the arcade. So they bounce and go into the internet. They sneak in, and everything goes into like 5D. Infinite realms, infinite possibilities. All you have to do is upgrade your code. Right? And it's this desire. The girl was like, don't you think of anything? And Wreck-It Ralph's like, I think of hanging out with you, and I think of smashing stuff in my game. I love you, and I love the game. And I love it here. And she's like, yeah, but I only have 3 boards, and I'm a master of it. Like, I know all the shortcuts and bling points and everything. Don't you just wish there's something a little more? And without spoiling the movie, it goes into everything the Ascension has to do with, and ends with her going up the staircase with him agreeing it's not his time yet, and that they'll just meet and talk every once in a while, and she ascends up into the internet. A fantastic movie if that, if that's the stuff you're into. But everything's got it in it now. It's the return of all this, right? So that's why it's number one. And that's why it's beating everything. People are like, I don't understand it. And I'm like, it's not the guy. It's the story. And how come the story's always the same, right? It's always the hero's journey, right? It's always the bad guy. Somebody dies, has to take revenge. I hate you. I'm going to come and get you. At the end, we got to be brothers, or this is going to save. We got to save the kingdom. If it's not for the one guy to unite the tribes, then the tribes don't get along, and they don't get along with this. And now there's an invader, and if we don't get along, the invader's going to take us. I mean, it's the same story every time. And we just soak it up. We don't care when it's like offbeat. It's like, oh, that was good. But when it's like the original Star Wars movie or The Matrix, stuff like Aquaman, people are like, whoa. I was comparing the Superman today. I was like, Superman is us. It's the alien from off-world who powers up in the sun, right, and can do these amazing things. That's why they give you that reflection of him being raised as the human. Superman is human. They don't understand why. Well, you could just rule the world. And he's like, no, why would I do that? I love them. It's not like them. It's us. I am, we are. This stuff is intense. It's in everything. It's in everywhere. Wow, I didn't even touch on anything yet, but like the tip of the conversation. I'm pretty psyched. Thank you guys for tuning in. Come back from the break. I'm going to get into, I've been on the microdose for a while, and I've been mistaking my microdoses and just eating handfuls. So we're going to discuss that when we come back. We are FearLess.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
No hate, no hype, no fear. Real people, real radio.
Am I a weak or is this a dream? A fantasy where I'd rather be. So come and talk with me. Come and walk with me. Is this a wake-up call from my reality? Have you seen my friends? Have you seen my girl? Wake me up from this. I'm trapped in this world.
This was just brought to my attention. I was reading some stuff in the room. Jason Momoa was also Baywatch, where he was a lifeguard swimmer, right? He was in Stargate. He was one of the characters there. A little bit of disclosure going on with him. He was also Conan, that I completely forgot. He played Conan in the not so good Conan movie, but he wasn't that bad. And now he's Aquaman. And my last reference, just to show you once again the connections to what's happening around us, to like what they're putting in the movies and what's happening. What not only is the Atlantean consciousness back, right? It returns. What does Atlantis do? It's under the ocean in the movies, right? But what does it do? What does Atlantis do? It rises. Okay? Comes up and out and reveals itself. So it just keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper. All right. Interesting enough, one of my doses the other day, I actually paid a visit to him just to take a look and see what he looks like. And I actually cleaned and cleared him because he had some attachments, which is pretty interesting. I usually don't talk about stuff like that, but I'm going to start talking about reptilians for a few minutes because they seem to need to be removed in places they get stuck on purpose. So my microdose started. I've been doing it on and off for a couple weeks. But a few weeks ago, I was trying to talk about this on the show. My back was killing me, and I kind of like it hit. It wasn't. If you go over 0.45 on a microdose, it's not a microdose anymore. So if you're very sensitive to stuff, it just kicks in. So I was like eye measuring, and what I was seeing in my mind's eye, it was like a flickering of an ethereal place where I was standing, and had my arms raised above my head, out like in a V. And I was like, oh, and I was grunting and groaning. I was moving my shoulders back and forth. And I'm like, this hurts, man. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. And pop, these giant wings came out. And I was going, oh, this feels so good. And fire was being like breathe onto me by a dragon. And I was going, this is amazing. And these beings came out and they had these scrubbers, and the edges of the tips of them were fire. And they were scrubbing me. And it was so interesting. I had my arms up and out, and my wings were doing that. And I was going, this is amazing. Do we actually have wings? Is this a representation? Is this a metaphor? Because I'm actually feeling relief. And as you guys are doing this, it feels like, I don't know, like more of me is on its way. And naturally, fun experiences are always great and dandy, right? That is until they were just preparing you for some crazy. So my wings everything kind of fades back. And I'm like, where's the fire? Where's everything's. And I'm standing in front of my house. And I'm like, how did I get here? And it's kind of cold out. And I'm standing there in a t-shirt, and I'm going, okay. And there's a cop with, he had a gun pointed at me, but it was like a rifle. He was all suited up. He had like the bulletproof vest and everything, and he was screaming, put down the seed. Put down the seed. Put down the seed. And I'm going, what seed? What are you talking about? And all these people start gathering. I'm like, oh, man. Let me tell you guys. For those of you that have dosed before, sometimes you switch out. And you're there. You're no longer sitting on your couch or laying on your floor. Like, you're gone, and you go to the other spot, wherever that is. I was in this place. It was so real. I didn't even know the difference. I was so confused at what was going on. I was like, how did I get here, and why is this happening to me? So I realized I had a seed in my hand. I look in my hand. I had a seed. So I'm like, hey, man, I have nothing on me but this seed. But I'm going to take this seed and I'm going to put it in the ground right here in front of you, right here on my property. And he says, if you don't put that seed down, I'm going to shoot you in your face. And I was like, whoa, you're going to shoot me in the face for that? He's like, yep. And people are gathering. They're like, don't shoot him. Don't shoot him. And he's just dropped the seed. People are screaming. It was so hectic. So I said, no, I'm going to take the seed. And I held my hand out, put my hand out, and I go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just drop it on the floor. And then I made the footprint, like that's where I'm burying it. And then my cats came out. 2 of them came over to me, and he said, put the seed down or I'm going to kill your cat. And I was like, what did you just say? And that's when I felt this burning sensation to just literally go at this guy. Like, I don't care. I'm going to do this right now. The seed's getting planted in this ground, and my boot's going up your ass right now. It doesn't matter. And he was like, your cat is going to get it. Then you're going to get it. And then everyone will go home, right? Then Paula walked out. And he's like, you know what? I'll shoot her. And I said, okay, that's it. And I felt the rage just completely take over. And as he looked to me, he was going to shoot. I seen it. I felt it. I was like, oh, I'm dead. There's nothing I can do. So I said, all right, check it out, man. You're going to kill my family over planting this seed? And he was like, yeah. I said, okay, then you can have it. I don't want it. It's not worth it. Right? Point is made. Whatever. I gave him the seed back. He was like, what? I said, you can have it. You can have the seed. I'll never touch another seed again. If it's that important to you that you'd point a gun at my family, we don't have to have this fight any longer. You win. Take it. Take it. I don't want it. He was like, I don't want it. I was like, well, then what's the problem? You don't want me to plant it, but I could have it, but I can't use it. But you could point a gun at my because this is a reflection, a metaphor for society, everything that's going on. And he said to me, everybody break it up. Go home. I said, hey, come here, buddy. I took the seed. I just threw it. We don't need this, right? I says, can I walk with you? Please holster your weapon. He slung his rifle over his back. He was like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh. And he started getting less grumpy. And my anger was just, it like came out of me differently. Like it instead of exploding outward, it was almost like it transmuted on the inside and came out the back somewhere where nobody could see it and just exit, no anger. So I said, you don't mind put my arm on you? You know, we're brothers. You're a big dude, big steroid monging cop, right? I'm like, listen, you know, when you point guns at people, and I'm just giving them the speech, and I'm like, I really just love you, man. You don't need to do that. And then he goes, yeah, but you don't understand. I do. And he looks at me and I look at him, and sure enough, right then and there, I saw it. I looked back, and trailing behind him was a dark green reptilian with yellow eyes. And it was a little different than the big ones that I normally see. And I haven't seen any really, I've seen them, but I haven't talked to any like humanoid reptilians that are like my size. But this thing was nasty. And it was hissing and hissing. It didn't think I could see it. So as I was walking with him, it looked like my soul kind of came out behind me while I walked with the officer and just kept telling him how much, you know, look, we're family, we're brothers, we're all just, it's important for all of us to be here. And my oversoul popped out and just turned and grabbed the reptilian. It hissed, it kicked, it bit, and did everything. Could do nothing to me. I've gone over this with people. I'm like, in the etheric, you, the creator, have final say across the board. 100%. And we're working to that as a population, as a people, as a consciousness. So I told him, you know, it stops here. He hissed and, oh no, you know, yeah, it's me. It's not the other guy. It's not Frank. It's me. He started screaming. Now he doesn't want to bite me. He wants to run from me. And I just held on to him. I transmute everything. When I say cake, that's a nice, polite way of me saying we're going to go start a fight, and it's going to be a bare knuckle bruiser, and they lose automatically when we develop the skill to take that deep breath and make that anger cake. Eat the cake. Let me sing a song for you. Blow out the candle, and then everyone loves a good pie to the face, right? It's not evil to do something like that to something else that's being a jerk, so we don't get the war going back and forth and back and forth. I'm turning this into a pillow fight, and you're going to lose every time. There's no chance where you win. That's all over. So then the transmutation occurs. I was shaken to the core, but I knew that man is a real man somewhere that had that attachment to him, because I've removed things like that in my house. The reptilians themselves describe to me how they do it. They say, we don't need ayahuasca. We don't need your silly plant medicine, as they like to say. They think it's stupid, right? They go, we could just do it. I just jump out of my body and launch my consciousness into your structure, find the weak point, and that's it. I take over. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not allowed to really do that. You're not allowed to do that. Right? And he's like, well, we run the place. You belong to us, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, I don't belong to none of you. You all belong to me. See, it's a shame that girl quoted The Watchmen, because that's actually one of the greatest Alan Moore lines. Rorschach, when he's like, I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. The realization that I'm here means I'm off the chessboard. And the fact that I'm telling you this means you're already done. Mom and dad are home. The kids are about to get spanked. Now, I can't go in there and scream. You have to be calm. You have to be grounded. You have to become that pillar of light, and they cannot take it. Whatever that pillar of light is to you. Some people say, well, I've yelled out Jesus and it worked. Well, I've met Space Jesus, so I could see how that works. I just don't think of him as the Son of God. We are all We are all of the creator prime creator, source itself. So my dreams now start becoming, I start remembering my dream over and over and over. And I'm having a dream the other night, and I can't cycle out of it. I'm aware of it. I'm in a room with everyone I love, friends and family. And they're not listening to me. No one's hearing me. Then I get asked a question from someone, randomly pops up, says something to me. I go to answer them, and everybody filters back into the room. This goes on for an hour. I pick up a glass. It was like bigger than a shot glass, like a whiskey glass or something. It was just there. And I'm like, why won't you hear me? Why can't you hear me? And I throw the glass. Boom, it shatters on the floor. Now, they all walked out of the room, and I realized the room's empty. I just smashed the glass. Well, damn, I feel like a dummy. Let me go pick that glass up before someone gets hurt. And just as I said that, my nephew comes running in the room barefoot. My niece comes running in there. My brother comes running in the room barefoot. I go, you're not wearing, you never go anywhere barefoot. You wear shoes on the beach. Why are you barefoot? Paula walks in barefoot. The cats, all the cats. Oh, it's getting in their fur and it's cutting their feet. And I'm like, well, I got 7 cats. What's going on? Now my mother walks in and my grandparents are coming in. My father was there. And I'm like, I don't even talk. I don't even like you. All right. I'm trying to help everyone. And then boom, I step on a piece of the glass. And it was deep. It hurt so much. I stepped back, leaned against this bar thing, and pulled this giant piece of glass out of my foot. And I said, wow, no one's going to listen to me. And now I've stepped in glass, and they're all stepping in glass, and they're still not listening to me, and there's blood everywhere, and it's messy, and I'm like, oh, I can't help. Boom, I wake up. So we know that there's incoming energies, portals opening, new energies we haven't seen in so long and forever around here to raise us out of this mess that we're in. So let me dream book, Google, what does it mean to break glass in a dream? Well, broken glass may symbolize negativity, broken promises, shattered dreams, disappointments in life. It may represent a broken heart or a relationship that has ended. Walking on broken glass may represent an emotional pain you are experiencing in life or the difficulties and obstacles in your way in some aspect of life. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty potent. Well, how does that all connect to me? Because it's about me, right? Well, we're leaving old Earth. We're removing all the negativity. It's all leaving. You can't take any of it with you. The old ways will never be the same. You can't go back to what it was. And I'm going, oh, man. And I start seeing the levels of connections. And I when I was younger, how about 4 years ago and more back, I would have never looked at the dream book and had any relevance to it. But I one time had a dream of breaking my teeth and couldn't stop them from falling out. And it was terrible, absolutely terrible. This is before ayahuasca and everything. So I got a dream book. I bought one. I read the interpretation. It said, when that happens, someone in your close circle is doing something to you, like they're not being cool with you behind your back. Just to find out, the kid I was living with, I let this guy move in with me for a couple of weeks. He was literally, it was just terrible. He was saying terrible things. They had him on video camera at a bar saying it. And they were like, dude, this is like the 10th time this kid was trying to pull this, and he's living with you. And mind you, he got out of there really fast. But everything is surfacing, right? Everything. We all have our obstacles and the things that we have to get around to get into this to this next aspect of life. And whatever the difficulty is, it's going to be outside of your comfort zone. And what have I been I've been beating this in everyone's head for weeks. Out of your comfort zone, you're going to find what? Success. Success out of your comfort zone. So big shout outs to, by the way, I know so many people right now that have become your own shaman and have met with success, and a whole bunch that are like, I like to call them wave 2. Wave 2 is going in head first. Like they're already way past what wave 1 was doing. When we thought wave 1 was nuts, wave 2 is going to be crazy. Cray. They pick up on it way faster. So shout outs to them, because this is all beginning to make sense now. It's all coming to, the puzzle piece is all coming together. We've decided we're in the optimum timeline. We've already succeeded, had a victory, and are in the next version of everything. So the next day, 2 days later, I microdose again, totally miss my mark, and just eat a handful, right? That's not a microdose, by the way. I'm questioning all this stuff. Is there going to be the event? That's the big one, right? Everybody wants to know, is there going to be a flash of light that comes through the sun from the portal from the other, the sun of Sirius, the galactic central sun that actually comes from the divine realm? It's just the highest frequency energy. Think of it like that, so you don't have to get into God and stuff, lowercase g. The energy is going to kind of bring its way through, and they were like, yeah, but you got to let go of all that other stuff. And I'm like, well, what? I've been letting go of everything. They're like, look, you all got to start letting go now. You're already late to the game. If it's just going to be, it's going to be more difficult if you wait. So when I say putting in the work, or you meditating, or you're cleaning and clearing, getting out that negativity, is your diet better? Like the less junk you have in you, the more light you could hold. So I'm like, oh, so this is happening, huh? And they're like, you're already in 5D Earth. It's a frequency. It's not like the Earth transforms. It is the Earth. You're not seeing it yet because there's a holographic overlay around us. We're in the illusion still. We have to break out of the illusion. That will give the appearance of New Earth. New Earth is Earth. Bird box on your head, right? And you were walking around your whole time and then pulled the blindfold off, and you're like, bro, it's New Earth. No, dummy, you've been here the whole time. That's what it really looks like. On the right frequency. We're in a crap frequency. The lowest density. We're to come in and anchor the light. Getting all metaphysical on you. So we can make this transition. During this transition, the illusion falls. But it doesn't fall for everyone. But everyone will have it removed at their time, because everyone's in their own universe, right? You're living in your own universe. So your timeline blends into the optimum timeline, because we've all agreed upon it subconsciously, and it's coming into fruition now. You got to let it play out. So your body, everyone's going to do it, that it's necessary for them to do. It's at the time they're going to do it, right? So that's why there's wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. People are just going to be, as they say in the Bronx, popping off everywhere, right? So those that jump off first and do it, whatever that is going to be there for whoever they're going to be there for, because that's what they're assigned to do. By the way, if you hit me up personally and you're like, hey, what's up? Nice to meet you. I have a question. And I'm like, okay, ask the question. And you're like, okay, I have witchcraft, demons, portals, rituals, and grays. How do I handle this? You better get me on the phone, because it's going to take a whole long time to explain what you need to do. People still want that silver bullet. Ayahuasca is the silver bullet for you to get your ass on track. It's not the silver bullet to remove every demon from you. She doesn't actually, you do all the work with her. So it's not like she's doing the work for you at any time, especially that almost never happens. she'll hold you and be like, listen, I love you. And she gives you the ultimate love. But she's also, you got to handle your business. I'm sitting in the bathroom and I'm asking these questions. I'm going through this process. I was telling Ra this today, and I start to see I didn't know what it was at first. It looked like two strings twirling around each other, creating like a Twizzler. But really big. But it was right in front of me. And so I was looking at it, and it was twisting, and I was like, yeah, that's beautiful. I love Twizzlers. So I'm like, oh, and I can't eat them because of my teeth. So I'm just like, you know what? That's a great Twizzler. You're making a great twist. Wait, what is that? And then I said, is that DNA? And I was like, oh, look, when you look from the side, oh, look, it's twirling DNA strand. There's my 2-strand DNA, right? Just like everyone sees when you ever depict DNA, right? So I said out loud, is that my DNA? And I heard loud and clear, oh, yeah. And I said, okay, who's that? Because I know you. And they were like, that's you. That's the big you. I said, yeah, I feel warm with that response. Like I felt a boom, 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 boom everywhere. So I was like, oh, that's, the discernment is going off. And I'm like, oh, there's truth right there. And then I hear, breathe. And I'm like, what's going on? And then going number 2, purging, while purging number 1. Now, mind you, I've been on a steady diet of water, some coffee, and bananas for days because my ascension symptoms are, if ascension symptoms were walls that we had to break down to get from point A to point B, I've broken every wall with my face first. I'm just running at it bird box style. There I go. I mentioned it twice tonight. Straight at the wall, blindfold, face first. Let's see what's on the other side. Bang, 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 bang. I got every single one of them straight down the line. And I purged all of it out. It was terrible. Shaking and shaking. So I said, what's happening to me? This is out of nowhere. What's going on now? This is bad. I don't know what's happening now. I'm beginning to collapse. I'm going to faint. Like it's getting that bad. And that's when I see it. It looked like a wisp coming out of the base of the DNA was a flower. Almost like a flower of life, but it looked like a lotus flower. And everything was rotating. And it like whipped out of the base, like out of the root. And it came up and whipped around me. I was like, whoa, what is that? What is that? Duck, look out. I was like, oh, this thing's trying to hit me. It was a 3rd strand of DNA that grew out and started wrapping and merging with my other strands of DNA. They were like, you need to purge all this out now because now you're activated. You've been on the whole time, but this is big activation time. Another strand of DNA, fully loaded. You're ready to go. All right. Thank you for sticking around. Next week, we're going to pick up right where we left off. And Paul will be back on the show. Remember to send everybody love. Don't get angry. Don't get caught up in the distractions. Don't even bother. Worry about yourself. Love yourself.